Welcome to Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. I'm Peter Gross, co-host of the original Wild Kingdom with Marlin, Perkins, and Jim Fowler. The coexistence between humans and animals was an important topic on many episodes of Wild Kingdom, including the one you'll see tonight. Many organizations and cultures throughout the world remain committed to identifying ways to preserve and enhance their natural environment. The Amazon rainforest is a terrific example of that collaboration in action. Native cultures who used to poach animals, slash and burn the forest, now benefit from its beauty. The revenue generated through tourism has created sustainable jobs for many people who call the rainforest home. Their future is very bright in the Wild Kingdom. So sit back and relax and enjoy Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom.
Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. Now, here is Marlin Perkins, director of the world-famous St. Louis Zoo, to investigate fact and fallacy in the Wild Kingdom.
Hello, welcome to Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. I've just been examining a piece of equipment for an experiment that I think you're going to enjoy. Today we're going to show you some facts and fallacies about animals that have become almost legend. Legends are a part of our tradition, and I wouldn't want to destroy any unless they needed to be destroyed. Well, let's see about this first one. A rattlesnake will not cross a horsehair rope. Is that a fact or a fallacy? Well, here is a short length of a horsehair rope that was traditional equipment with a cowboy in the early days of our West. And if he had to camp out on the ground, as he frequently did, the story goes that he would circle himself with his horsehair rope lariat and be safe from any marauding rattlesnakes. Well, I hope you never have to prove that one yourself. Anyhow, let's see what happens.
I've got the snake.
Good. Say, Jim, this old horsehair rope is certainly hard on the hands.
Sure is. I can see how a cowboy might think that a snake wouldn't cross this. Those horsehair bristles should be very uncomfortable on a snake's stomach.
Okay.
Put him right here.
That'll be all right. Well, he certainly crawled across it, Jim.
He seems to enjoy that.
I wonder how many cowboys have camped out under the stars, surrounded by their horsehair rope, secure in the belief that the rattlesnake wouldn't cross it.
What they didn't know didn't hurt them, huh?
Well, I don't know. If we've destroyed a legend for you, I'm sorry. But where the safety of an individual is concerned, I think the truth must be known. And the truth is that a rattlesnake will cross a horsehair rope. Well, maybe we better put him away, Jim. Let's look at some other legends about animals and see if they are fact or fallacy. Here's one. Toads cause warts. Is that a fact or a fallacy? Well, first, let's see what the dictionary says. Wart, a small, hard, dry, abnormal outgrowth on the skin, now believed to be caused by a virus. You know, some people may have had warts grow on their hands after they'd handled a toad, and they assume because toads have warty skin that that's where it came from. But the actual little bumps on the skin of a toad are not warts. but are poison glands that contain a fluid that gets into the mouth of animals that try to bite the toad. And believe me, a dog that ever picks a toad up in his mouth will never pick up another one. Now, I've handled literally thousands of toads in my lifetime, and I've never had a wart. If you think there's some misunderstanding about toads, that's nothing to the confusion that exists about an African chameleon.
I'll see what it says under chameleons. If you place a chameleon on a plaid background, he'll go crazy.
Well, here's a fine African chameleon. And of course the saying concerns itself with the belief that a chameleon changes his color to match his background. Jim, I think we need a few simple experiments. Now, Jim, here's a regular Scotch plaid here. Let's see what happens.
Well, he has a pattern of light and dark right now, but he's certainly not turning red or green or purple.
He's not going crazy either, is he?
Doesn't look like it.
Well, here's a hard one. Black and white.
I suppose he should turn half and half on this one, huh?
Yeah, he should have a black head and a white tail.
No change there.
Well, here's a more natural one. A green leaf.
Theoretically, he should turn entirely green then.
Yeah.
That's not working either.
Well, the thing that's confusing here is the fact that people think it is because of the background. We all know that chameleons really do change color, and they change rapidly, within 10 or 15 seconds. But the color change is not a result of the object upon which they're resting, but because of light, heat, and emotion.
Well, you can take a lizard from a tree and put him out on a fence post, and he will change color, usually brown. But that's not due to the background then. That's due to the change in the intensity of light that's striking his body.
Yes, sir, that's right.
And I've seen many lizards that are different colors, some green, some yellow, and some of them brown, all sitting against a common background. And I guess this would be due to the emotional differences of the individual lizard then.
Yes, and that proves that chameleons change color not because of their background. You know, there are as many different fallacies about large animals as there are small animals. For our next factor fallacy, we're going to go outside. Here we are in the elephant yard, and while we watch Floyd Smith going through some training routines with these elephants, I want to ask if you recall an old saying about African elephants. Do you remember this one? You can't train an African elephant. Well, meet Herman and Clara Bell, two fine young African elephants who formerly appeared every day during the season in our elephant show here at the St. Louis Zoo. We would have to be honest and say the Asiatic elephant is more docile and therefore more easily trained. But just look at these two fine animals. They are well trained, and African elephants have been trained for work or warfare since before the time of Hannibal. In fact, Hannibal's elephants were African elephants. The most obvious physical difference between African and Asiatic elephants is in the size of the ears. The African's ears are much larger. Magnificent, aren't they? A big African male tusker might present some real problems, even to an experienced trainer like Floyd Smith. But he knows that because of the different personality, the African elephant must be spoken to more softly and handled more gently. Yes, after watching these two trained African elephants, the old saying will have to be changed to read, African elephants can be trained. Some stories about animals may have been true at one time, but with our improved knowledge about animal behavior, they may have become false. Take this one, for example. Does a raccoon wash his food? What would you say about that one, Jim?
Well, this behavior has puzzled scientists for a long time. And I think it's complicated by the fact that almost all of us have seen a coon playing in the water with food and actually rolling it with his hands underwater. But in my opinion, this doesn't really mean that he is washing his food. But the fact is the coon is an animal that lives near the water and feeds primarily on aquatic animals such as frogs and clams and crawfish. He also is one of the few animals that has a tactile sense in his hands so that he can feel food objects and identify them without seeing them. I think one of the best ways of really testing whether it's necessary for him to wash his food or not before he eats it is to simply remove the water so he has a chance of eating this food without any water being around. Let's see what happens here. Well, this raccoon certainly isn't making an attempt to wash his food. Now, if I move the water closer to him, if he has any desire at all to wash his food, he should do it. I'll even put it a little bit closer. Well, I think it's pretty obvious that this coon does not have a tendency or a necessity of washing his food before he eats it. And this is logical because many times these eat berries or corn, which is way up on the highlands, and they're not anywhere near the water. I think this is a case of the proper observation, but the wrong deduction.
Well, Jim, here's another deduction we're just not quite sure about. A tiger cannot smell. This is a question that has been debated around the long table of the Adventures Club in Chicago for several years. The tiger hunters claim that definitely tigers can't smell. The zoologists wonder why. And so we set up an experiment here in the St. Louis Zoo with one of our tigers. This is the lion and tiger arena where our tiger is about to be faced with a difficult choice. Here are two fake pieces of meat. They look exactly the same on the outside, but inside of one of them is a piece of raw meat. I'll place these on the floor and release a tiger into the arena. If this tiger cannot smell, these two pieces will be the same to him. Now let's just be quiet and see what happens. He certainly smells something. Yes, I think this indicates that a tiger can smell. Look at that tongue action. His tongue's as rough as a file, and he gets a good taste of the meat that way. See how he cuts the pieces of meat off with his side teeth. His front teeth are used for gripping, and his side teeth are used for cutting, just like scissors. Well, we've seen a demonstration that shows a tiger can smell. Jim, here's a question that the answer seems fairly obvious.
What's that?
Can a fish drown?
Well, I guess it's easy to assume that fish can't drown. But on the other hand, it depends on what we mean by the word drown. When I was down at the Lerner Marine Laboratory at Bimini Island in the Bahamas, I remember they were working with sharks, and they had to take special precautions to keep those sharks from drowning. They showed me the pens where they keep live sharks used in their work to develop an effective shark repellent. The problem is to bring in the sharks alive. My host, Dr. Perry Gilbert of Cornell University, introduced me to their shark trailer, a device they were testing for towing in live sharks behind a boat. At the front end is a valve for controlling the flow of water through the trailer. This is intended to protect the sharks from being flooded or drowned when they're pulled behind a fast-moving boat. Before we could test the trailer, though, we needed sharks. Most people don't fish for sharks intentionally, and rarely does anyone attempt to bring them back alive. But these men have developed a specialized technique. Their fishing rig consists of a set of 8-inch hooks suspended at intervals from a chain 100 yards long. The hooks are baited with large chunks of blue marlin. A barrel-like buoy is thrown out to mark the spot. It's attached to an anchor large enough to hold a small ship or several angry sharks. Then comes the dangerous part of the operation. As the boat moves forward, the chain is let out and the baited hooks are thrown clear. It's a tricky maneuver here, for one slip and you can end up as shark bait yourself. The next morning, Dr. Gilbert and I attached the shark trailer to the boat and headed back out to the fishing ground. First, we recovered the float. Then we started hauling in the chain and the hooks. The first hook was empty. No shark, no bait. But on the second hook, a little sand shark had taken our bait and then became bait himself for an 8-foot tiger shark. This fellow was dynamite. He could easily snap off an arm or a leg, and almost surely would if given the chance. We wanted him alive, of course, without harm to him or to us. It took some doing to work him around to the stern and berth him in the trailer. Our total haul was 3 sharks. Not bad. On the way home, we checked the working of the trailer. If the sharks had been towed loose in the water at that speed, the water being forced into their mouths could flood their systems and kill them. In the trailer, though, the water was kept nice and calm. By controlling the valve in the front, we could keep water flowing just enough to supply the oxygen the sharks needed. It was a good day's catch. We got the sharks to shore in excellent condition. The men at the laboratory were satisfied that the trailer had done its job. And after all this, I was satisfied that a fish can drown.
That's a most ingenious device to keep sharks from drowning. But Jim, I understand you have a very exciting experiment going on at the bear pits.
Yeah, it's one we haven't investigated yet, so I'm not too sure what's going to happen.
Should be interesting. In the wild kingdom, there are many examples of things that people think are facts, but which are really fallacies. Often the reason people believe in these fallacies is that they don't take the time to investigate. That's true of many things. I suppose the story that bears hugged their victims to death comes from early American folklore. To find the answer to this question, we've set up a most unusual experiment in one of the beautiful bear pits here at the St. Louis Zoo. Jim Fowler is over there right now with a friend.
Marlin, this is my friend Joe, and that's his brother Charlie back there. They're going to help me with this experiment, and it's all right because they're filled with straw. Jim Coulter, Virgil Turner, and Howard Hoffman are going to suspend Charlie from a special rig so he can be raised and lowered and pulled across the pit from one side to the other. And here come the bears, 2 800-pound Eurasian brown bears. This is their territory, and we can be sure they're going to resent any intruder, so the test should be a good one. At first, they're cautious. All their senses tell them that Charlie is a very strange creature. Besides, he's a pretty big one. But still, they're going to get rid of him. Let's see what happens. The bears are cautious because Charlie doesn't seem to scare very easily. But still, he's got to go. Watch out now. The bear uses its teeth. It carries the victim, but the grip is with the jaw, not the arm. A bear does use its paws, though, to strike and to tear, and to hold its prey down while it rips it apart. And this would be the fate of any person caught by a bear.
This experiment and many years of experience tell us that the bear hug is pure fallacy. But let me tell you of a case where many years of experience proved wrong. We were visiting the Willie de Beer game farm in Tanganyika, and were scheduled one day to take part in a giraffe capture. The giraffe is really one of the world's strangest looking animals. Perhaps for this reason, he's extremely valuable to zoos, so Willie DeBeer is often called upon to capture one. Willie's method of capturing animals is both spectacular and efficient, and we set out knowing that we were in for an exciting time. Up until this particular capturing expedition, I'd believed, as did most people, that a giraffe has no vocal cords and thus can make no sound. Certainly with this long and graceful neck, you'd think that he could either make a lot of sound or none at all. But we were in for the surprise of our lives. Now we're up to top speed because these fellows can run amazingly fast with those great long legs. Almost got him, but we'll try again. As you can see, the first requirement is to get the loop over his head. It's not easy when you're sitting out in the open at 40 miles per hour with dust and dirt flying in your face. Now we're getting closer. This is our last chance at one of these fellows because the others have scattered. There it is. He's roped. Now here's where we got our big surprise. We heard, as I'm sure you did, our first evidence that giraffes do have vocal cords. It was only at this moment that I realized our good fortune in having sound recording equipment on hand. A capture, of course, is a very difficult experience for the animal, and it may be that he only makes such sounds under great stress. Whatever the explanation, we now know that this strange and beautiful animal does make sounds. A truly exciting experience and an enlightening one for us. So some of the commonest held beliefs about animals may sometimes prove to be wrong. Mr. Moak, there's a famous old saying about monkey see, monkey do. Are you paying attention? I'm going to make a funny face. Have you ever done any carpentry work? I doubt it. Here. Hey, that's all right. That's pretty good. Just a minute. Just 1 minute, sir. Just one, but don't be grabby. Anybody around the zoo can tell you that monkey see, monkey do. They really do imitate people, and sometimes the people out in front of the cages. There's a lesson to be learned here. Repetition seems to be the thing that causes monkeys to do. The study of science is gradually solving many of the mysteries of the animal world and slowly correcting the fallacies that have been thought to be facts. But the lives and habits of most animals of the wild kingdom are so complex that there will be plenty of superstitions and legends to go around for a long time to come. Man can experiment, observe, test, and imagine why a chimp or a rattlesnake or a raccoon behave the way they do. But one fact remains. If we are really going to separate fact from fallacy, we must try to understand the animal from his own point of view and the laws of the wild kingdom.
Like what you saw? Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for more exclusive content. And visit our website at wildkingdom.com.